Hello folks, hope you're all doing well. Welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at the USS Black. This is a Tier 7 premium destroyer for the US that has become available thanks to the Lucky 6 campaign. And you can earn this ship by achieving rank 100 on the campaign with Admiralty backing. Additionally, you can also obtain it for 10,000 doubloons if you decided to opt for the Independence instead. More than likely, this ship probably will come back in the future. Not sure how much, but probably 750,000 global XP. Anyway, let's take a look at the ship itself. So, to give it an overall view here, the Black was one of the numerous and very successful Fletcher-class destroyers, which boasted a sufficiently high speed, powerful dual-purpose artillery, efficient AA defences, and decent torpedo weaponry. So, this ship itself entered service in 1943, and it is pretty much what it says in the description there. It's a Fletcher-class destroyer with some minor altercations to it. Now, we'll take a quick brief look at it. So, for the most part, the major kind of change to this is in its consumables, and that pretty much means that this ship can have radar, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first ship on the US destroyer tree to have radar. Now, it's not the best of radars, but we'll talk about that today. So, it can have a radar. It's a 7.5 kilometer radar, which is pretty good, and you won't really need anything more than that for a destroyer. And its consumable duration is 13 seconds, so it's not long, unfortunately. It's got a reload time of 150 seconds, and you can use it 3 times within a battle. Now, before I go any further, I just want to make it clear that this is without any modifications on the ship or without a commander put on the ship itself. So these are stock stats, and obviously they can be changed or adjusted depending on the modifications you put on or your commander. So overall, the radar isn't fantastic, but it's still a radar, and thanks to it fairly long smoke time due to it being a US destroyer. You can deploy smoke down for 28 seconds. It takes 124 seconds to disperse, so 2 minutes roughly. Really kind of use the smoke radar sort of strategy with this ship, which it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because the US destroyers well, don't get access to sonar, and with the US destroyers being very, very good in their guns, especially playing a gunboat role, it's going to be interesting to see what sort of playstyle this is going to rack up. Now, some other bonuses off this ship compared to the standard Fletcher, which we'll be comparing it to, is that it gets a slight survivability, slightly more hit points at 16,700. However, we do lose a bit of that armor, which we'll go over soon. Overall, for artillery, what we'll notice as well is that it has a slightly longer reload time compared to that of the standard Fletcher, only by 0.6 seconds though. However, that does mean that you get the extra 1 kilometer firing range increase, which is quite nice to have. As for the shells though, because they're the 127s, they do the exact same damage, and they also have the exact same fire setting chances. So you're trading a bit of that reload time in order to have that extra 1 kilometer range, which is somewhat nice. I did hear though that apparently the guns are a lot more floaty compared to the standard Fletcher, but that of course means that you're going to be able to hit targets behind islands and whatnot a lot easier and effectively, but not as high velocity as the normal Fletcher. Now, we begin to get into the kind of sort of downsides of the ship a bit here, and you'll notice almost immediately from looking at the torpedo screen alone that these torpedoes aren't the best. with a speed of 43 knots, which ranks V Black's Torpedoes as one of the slowest in game. Now, it's not all doom and gloom though. Obviously there's got to be some trade-off for having such slow torpedoes, and that's thanks to its superb 13.7 kilometer torpedo range, nearly 14 kilometers there, so you can launch these really far out, and given that, take a look at the concealment here, you can stealth torp with this thing decently well, without any concerns. However, another bonus that you or I shouldn't say bonus, another trade-off that you're getting alongside with that decreased speed is that the maximum damage of these torpedoes is nearly double of that of the standard Fletcher, which means if you hit ships with one of these torpedoes, it's going to hit hard, and you'll probably only need around 3 or maybe 4 if it's a battleship to effectively sink it. So those are good there. But moving on, we don't really need to cover the AA defences. All that can be said is that there's quite a lot of AA on the ship itself. If we take a look, you'll see that there's numerous positions of 20mm Oerlikon and 40mm Bofor guns jotted around the ship, and we've even got a nice little love heart here on the back. But if we continue on, in terms of maneuverability, the ship is slightly slower than the standard Fletcher. However, it's not a big decrease in speed. It's only by 1 knot. I know that some people throw head over heels for that and think, oh god, it's the end of the world, but it's not going to make much of an impact, and especially depending on the command you put on, you can increase that speed quite exponentially. However, it does trade off that 1 knot speed, I believe it's 1.2 knots actually, that 1 knot speed for a better rudder shift time. So you're losing almost a second of the rudder shift time for 1 knot, which is quite nice to have. In terms of concealment, it's the exact same as the normal Fletcher. There's no differences there. Or from what I've glanced, I could be wrong. If I am, my bad. But there aren't any changes really in terms of detectability, so it's all roughly the same. If we go back over to the armour here, you'll notice that for the most part, the turrets, the hull itself and the bridge only range between 19 and 20mm of armour thickness, and the actual superstructure ranges between 6 and 13mm. So it's not the best in comparison to the actual normal Fletcher on the tech tree. You're going to be struggling a bit more, especially when dealing with that sort of high explosive shells. However, as we all know, the destroyers, they don't have any armour, so it's not really that much of a concern. Now, going back to the guns, or if we were to compare this to a regular Fletcher, in a one-on-one fight against a Fletcher, the Fletcher's probably going to win, due to the fact that it has that increased reload speed. However, and I'm going to talk about what I'd assume would be the playstyle with this thing now, is utilising your fairly decent speed to get to the cap point, finding the enemy destroyer, which goes there if there is one, and engaging that destroyer using the nice 127s and the quick reload speed on the Black to effectively hit the target. And what you can do then is, if the enemy smokes up, or you can if you want to, you can run that smoke radar strategy and flush out the enemy out of their position, and I think that's going to place this ship very good in terms of competing against other destroyers at the same tier. And not only that, but you get also this really nice camouflage. It's this USS Flint sort of camouflage that's on it. It's not the same as what it had in real life, but I think it's a pretty cool camo, and in all honesty, I think I'm going to be picking up this over the Independent in the Lucky 6 campaign. But I think this will be a fun little ship to pick up. It's going to have a nice, interesting new playstyle to it, with it having a radar, which, of course, no other American destroyer has access to. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to picking up this thing and kind of trying it out, see what it's all about. Either way, I hope you all have a lovely day. I'll see you all around next time.